Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today's deck profile for you, we're going over BlackWarGreymon X. WarGreymon X getting a lot of popularity right now, but BlackWarGreymon X Gaiomon still holds a place in my heart just forever. So wanted to go ahead and get this up on the channel. I know not a lot of people are covering a BlackWarGreymon focused variant of the Greymon deck right now. So I want to go ahead and throw something at you guys, as this is pretty much always my go-to, like, back of my pocket staple deck that I need to do well with. I'll go ahead and pull out BlackWarGreymon, that, or, you know, maybe Security Control. But most of the time here in the past, I don't know, 6 months, BlackWarGreymon X has pretty much been my go-to. So we'll go ahead and throw this deck profile at you guys. Also, don't forget though, our Etsy page, link in the description below, has tons of memory markers. So if there's a deck you're playing right now that you can't find a good memory marker for, check out our Etsy page. There's probably going to be one that'll be absolutely perfect for the deck you're playing, as well as we have tons of other Digimon merch like keychains, fridge magnets, all kinds of really cool acrylic stuff that my wife has made. Everything on there is all handmade by her. All right, as always, we've got the whole deck profile pulled up for you guys so you can kind of follow along with us with what we're working for. You notice we are 3 cards over, and that is just because we got some talking points down here at the bottom of some alternative choices that you can go with. But at its core, this will pretty much be the deck in its entirety here. So first up, of course, we're still rocking that BT5 Koromon here. Just that, you know, get that draw when you attack with these guys. The whole deck pretty much triggers this, so why not run it? It's just a solid card for sure. The draw really pairs nicely with X Antibody, because you can use that when attacking to Evo ability, and sometimes you literally draw the card you need to Evo off of the Koromon here, so it really just works out really nicely. For our rookie lineup, we're still rocking the BT12 Agumon here. It's 0 Evo cost on top of our Koromon, so of course we're going to play a Koromon, and then on play is the Reveal 4 out of Greymon or Omnimon, and a tie in name to your hand. And then all turns it gets a 1k DP buff. That all turns DP buff is actually pretty nice, and even when we get to the level 4s, I debate running the all turns plus 1k Greymon there as well, just because it is a nice buff during your opponent's turn to keep like the mirror match and stuff like that, or if you're blocking or redirecting, that DP boost actually is pretty crucial. We are running ties in the deck, so I do like the tie hit off of it. We're also running the Greymon or the Agumon X here. 0 Evo on top of another Agumon, or that on play search. Often you'll see this evoed in Raising Area right on top of another Agumon. Gets another draw for you, as well as it turns on your Greymon X inheritable that gives you, trash 2 of the same level to keep it alive. So pretty good target there, as well as this is our only good reliable way to hit X Antibody off of a search here. So of course we're going to run this as it is the only way to hit X Antibody in the deck, which is a very, very predominant card that we desperately need, especially for like our BlackWarGreymon X to get its main ability online. Next, we got the new Agumon here. Just a great card here. This is pretty much a complete and total power creep boost to the promo Agumon that gave that 2k DP buff, but now we also have a main effect here of start of your main phase. If you have a tie in its name in play, this Digimon can Digivolve into a Greymon in your hand without paying the cost. So that's pretty nice. Also, if you combine this with that the Greymon that gains you a memory, so not only do you Evo for free, you also +1 memory. So that's a nice combo if you're running that Greymon. Like I said, it is an alternative choice that you could do instead. And that's it. We're just running the 12 rookies. 12 rookies. We used to run 14 a lot, but honestly, 12 rookies has been absolutely fine in every single stack deck, a deck that's based on getting all the way up until level 6. 12 rookies has been fine. I don't see really ever going back on that at this point. For our level 4s here, I am rocking 4 of the security attack +1 Greymon. I mean, I'm a big fan of this in Greymon decks. We've seen a lot of just WarGreymon X doing really well right now, and they're running this Greymon with that security attack. I think it does just as well in this. We'll get to it, but one of my favorite combos is like the Metal Greymon here, swing, raid, unsuspends itself, or you get to play at the Tamer then, and then you X antibody when attacking Evo into the Metal Greymon X here, and then that turns on your piercing inheritable, as well as gives you security attack +1 and +3,000 DP with any other buffs that you might be running. Like, this thing is massive, and if you have this Greymon underneath, that's another security check. So you're checking 3 security on a level 5 with like 15,000 DP very easily. It's pretty nice. So I'm a big fan of this one. Yeah, it's still my go-to. I am rocking the EX1 Greymon though as our secondary level 4, our secondary main level 4 here. Just that inheritable of when attacking, you may play a tie with 3 cost or less from your hand without paying the cost. It's just really nice because you can just play these ties for free, and then again you can use like your X antibodies then to Evo mid attack, and that tie that you just played off for free off that Greymon, you can now suspend to help reduce the Evo cost and make it way more manageable. So really powerful combinations with the black tie here, that 3-drop tie. So big fan of it as well in the deck. Moving on from there, though, we just got our typical Greymon X's here. We've got the BT9 one, the trash 2 of the same level to prevent option removal, basically. Everything except for like Chaos Brigade and Lone Key. Next, we also have the BT11 limited to 1. Greymon X, insanely powerful card. I don't see it ever coming back from 1 for quite some time here, mainly because in conjunction with something like this, the BT12 Metal Greymon is really powerful. So 3 Evo on top of another Greymon. If you're going into or if you're going on top of this, you can reduce the Evo by 1 for each color. So this becomes a 1 Evo cost. Super powerful like combination there to do that. Also, his inheritable is basically the same as the other Greymon X, but you just trash an X antibody option card instead of 2 of the same level. But yeah, so this Metal Greymon, we already talked about it a bit. It's got that raid, so you swing, you raid, all turns. Once per turn, when an attack target is switched, you may play 1 black or red Tamer with a play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying the cost. So you can either play another tie if you haven't already played them out off of this Greymon, or you can play out the Yuya. I do like Yuya a lot just because there's, we still seeing Setcon, it just got that new Magna Angemon, so now it's got 8 Magna Angemons at its disposal. So we're still going to see a lot of that, and Yuya just being in here to help keep our stuff alive against that deck, I think is still a must. So works great with this, and then has that piercing inheritable. Very powerful stuff here. This is the BlackWarGreymon X, in case you're not aware, is more of the control version of the Greymon deck, whereas the WarGreymon X deck is the like super aggro offensive. We're just trying to do as much security damage as possible in the shortest amount of time. So BlackWarGreymon X, very much a control element. So we're looking for raiding and piercing and stuff like that. Really solid stuff here. The Metal Greymon X, of course, we already talked about it. That 0 Evo cost on top of another Metal Greymon, gains security attack +1 and 3,000 DP there. Really sick combos that you can do with that. I love doing that. It's probably my favorite combo in the game, like, to date. And we've been doing it literally since BT12. So I know we're only on BT14 right now, but it's actually been a lot longer than you might realize. Like, I mean, we're approaching, 9 months? I think with this Metal Greymon now, somewhere in there, between 6 and 9. And it's been my favorite combo to do this whole time. So these two together with the X antibody option, absolutely amazing. And then you just, to pass turn, you Evo one of your level 6s with Reboot. And so then they can't even touch you afterwards. Feels so good. My backup, though, I do have Metal Greymon X from BT11 in here. This is more of a meta call, honestly, at this point. I did originally want to throw it in here for the inheritable, just because that, when we unsuspend, if it has Greymon or Omnimon in its name, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. That's always great. Really love to see it. But also, its when Digivolving effect is actually pretty relevant right now. Until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon can't have its DP reduced by your opponent's card effects. And isn't affected by Digivolve effects, as well as then if Metal Greymon or X antibodies in the Digimon evolution cards, delete one of your opponent's 6,000 DP or less. D-Brigade's pretty popular right now. We haven't seen it doing too big of tops yet, but it is being heavily played, and I think this is a fantastic call for that deck, as well as the vaccine deck, which is also incredibly hyped up. This is a great counter when playing against those decks, because that popping 6,000 DP or less, that comes up a lot. You can pop those Magna Angemons and stuff like that. Both actually Magna Angemons you can pop, because they're both 6,000 DP. Well, no, the new one is 8,000. Its play cost is a reduced part, sorry. But the 6,000 DP or less is still popping the old one, popping tons of the D-Brigade stuff very easily. Preventing the D-Digivolve is pretty relevant because of DCD Bomb is being heavily used in those decks. So preventing that is actually pretty clutch. And then the DP minusing, also very relevant for the vaccine matchup. If you haven't seen that, they're just doing tons and tons of DP minusing. So very important to be able to prevent that from happening there. As well as that trashing security there, that's almost as good as a security attack +1, except almost even better as long as you're running your megas as reboots. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and jump into our megas here. Might surprise you on our ratios here. I was running the BlackWarGreymon in here, so 2-2-2 split on these guys, but honestly the tamer hate hasn't felt overly important necessarily right now. I do go back and forth though on the 2-2-2 split or the 3-3 split. Honestly, it depends on the day of the week and how I'm feeling. But BlackWarGreymon X, either way, is still our main go-to here. That reboot, 13,000 DP. Opponent's turn, when your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP attacks, you may switch the target of the attack to this Digimon. 13,000 DP is huge. Lugamon decks are their boss monster is only 12k. They don't run any sort of DP boosting stuff like that. It's just 12k. If you redirect with the BlackWarGreymon that Fenrir Lugamon, like done. Like that just really ruins their day hardcore. You stick a BlackWarGreymon X against that deck and they're gonna have a bad time. Another good point is also something like against Blue Flare. Sticking a BlackWarGreymon X against Blue Flare really hurts them. You can argue that they can just bounce the BlackWarGreymon with all the new techs. Well, as long as we have X antibody underneath and they can't trash that X antibody option card, then we're going to be safe. Even if they strip all of our other sources, we're still going to be in a good position because we're just going to keep redirecting their main big boss monsters that like to get multiple checks in. We're just not going to let it happen. So that's really powerful. And then opponent's turn, once per turn, when a Digimon becomes unsuspended, usually itself off of its own reboot. If this Digimon has BlackWarGreymon or X antibody in the devolution cards, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. Very nice, especially when you're doing like your raid shenanigans with Metal Greymon, going into Metal Greymon X, and then pass turn Evo into this BlackWarGreymon X. Then it's going to pop whatever's left on the field. Is the idea there, but still incredibly powerful card for sure. I got Gaiomon in here. Again, if you're a longtime fan of the channel, Gaiomon is my favorite Digimon in all of Digimon. So an excuse to run it feels really good. It actually just really fits in with the meta pretty nicely right now. 5 Evo cost is a lot. It is an X antibody though, so we can't Evo mid-attack with the X antibody option with it. As well as we got some other really good synergies here. it's traded as a Greymon in name, so we can use our stuff like ties to reduce the cost as well. We also have the offensive trainings now to help reduce the evo cost of these guys, so that just makes them more manageable. He's got security attack +1. He's got the reboot. The reboot was super important to me. I wanted to run something with reboot moving forward into this next format. And then when Digivolving is this Digimon has black Digivolution Source, Digivolve 1. If it has a red, you get a Blitz. So it felt very similar to the new WarGreymon here. The new WarGreymon, it has Raid as well as basically Blitz without the keyword. It's got security attack +1 and piercing for the when attacking there. We're going to have piercing no matter what, because we're going to be running this Metal Greymon, so that's not, anything different there. So between this and the Gaiomon, the only difference really is like he's 1 evo cheaper than the Gaiomon is. They both have security attack +1 here. They're both going to have piercing. They are both have Blitz. The only difference is this one's going to have the Raid. Also, it has the Warp ability, but that's hard to argue that point. But this guy also has Digivolve. So the Digivolve also kind of a little bit relevant here. So, just kind of personal preference. It also has the reboot. And again, the reboot was the big selling point for me here over this WarGreymon. Now, it was a very hard choice. I went back and forth on it a whole lot. But yeah, the reboot kind of sold it for me. Now, there is the BT12 WarGreymon. It does have reboots. At least the turn that you evo it there, it gets that +3000 DP and reboot. It has Raid, so it's similar. It's like, this is like the middle ground between the new secret rare WarGreymon and the Gaiomon here. It's got the reboot. It's also got Raid. The piercing's not going to matter because the Metal Greymon's going to give it to it. And then, but it has that when attacking, or when an attack target is switched, unsuspend this Digimon. If you use the tie here to give it blocker, it can basically become a double blocker, which is pretty solid there. So really kind of combos nicely with the BlackWarGreymon X. The only thing it doesn't have, though, is it's not going to have the Blitz. And I think the Blitz is actually kind of, a big thing, as well as that Digivolve, also pretty nice. But yeah, the reboot here was almost got me with that reboot. Really liked it. But I think that's going to be kind of the difference, though. It's like, do you want to play BlackWarGreymon or do you want to play WarGreymon? If you want to play WarGreymon, the strategy is very different. So I wanted reboot as like a big selling point for me. For BlackWarGreymon specifically is the reboot, and the Gaiomon just having that the Blitz as well as the Digivolve and the security attack +1 with the reboot. Otherwise, I would have totally ran this. If this WarGreymon had reboot, even just for one turn like this one does, I would have 100% ran the secret rare instead of Gaiomon. But yeah, the reboot just sold it for me. Also, another 13,000 DP, which is really good against the Lugomon matchup. So yeah. Now, there is still something to be said for the original BT8 BlackWarGreymon, simply because, for one, both our Gaiomon and our BlackWarGreymon X here Digivolve for 2 on top of it, making them way more manageable and more long term. It's like, because we can reduce his evo cost and then we can reduce their evo cost on the following turn, so it actually ends up being a good amount cheaper. But this has great control. It just, again, it doesn't have the reboot. Now, if you can pop a Digimon with it, then you almost don't need the reboot, so it's fine. The only thing is you won't trigger the Metal Greymon X from BT11 because it's inheritable on that unsuspend, only triggers during the opponent's turn. Now, your opponent can trigger this themselves when a Digimon becomes unsuspended. So yeah, if they just unsuspend themselves, it can still trigger that. Again, great for something like Lugomon, great for something like WereGarurumon, those decks, lots of, unsuspending, things like that. Even against Bloomlord can also work against that deck as well. So, you don't necessarily need the reboot necessarily all the time, but I do like the safety net of it. Because we really don't want to lose our stack here. But yeah, that when Digivolving, basically you're going to pop up to 6 play cost worth of stuff, because you're always going to have black and red as in your sources in this deck. There's just almost no way to get around it. it'd be very, very difficult for you to. So yeah, deleting up to 6 play cost worth of stuff. And if you pop a Digimon, then you will get that unsuspend, which is nice. So yeah. And then also that all turns, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, you may unsuspend this Digimon. So that being all turns is actually pretty crucial, because if you have that blocker, he turns into a double blocker, just like the BT12 WarGreymon. So again, there are a lot of synergies going on here. Like, it's very, very difficult to pick what to run, because they all do almost the same thing. It's just very personal preference and your overall play style of the deck. I went for a way more controlling deck. My original build was BlackWarGreymon X and then 3 of the new WarGreymon. So it's like, I need to be defensive, I'm going to go BlackWarGreymon X to pass turn. If I need to be super aggro offensive, I'm going to Evo the WarGreymon and then blitz with it for big damage. But then ultimately I was like, BlackWarGreymon X or BlackWarGreymon Control, I'm going to go for 2 Control Megas here. But Gaiomon can also still put in work as well as be a Control Digimon. So he's a nice balance between all of it. Moving on though, Tai here. We had the new Tai from BT12. Super solid still. We've got that plus 1k in blocker, start of your turn or on play. We can play him very easily, multiple different ways for free. So that's really great. The blocker is great since we got that reboot, like I've been hounding about. Unsuspend during our opponent's turn. So we'll always have that blocker. If you have BlackWarGreymon X, you also have that redirect. So double blocker there. If you run the other guys here, they can be double blockers as well. And then also he works kind of like Cool Boy, where you can suspend him to gain 1 memory when you do an Evo. So again, really powerful in conjunction with like this Agumon. If you Evo for free into a Greymon and then you suspend the Tai, you just plus memory for free. That's really strong. Just a 3 of here. 3 of has been fine. I don't think 4 of is quite necessary. It's a little overkill. And then, of course, I've got the Yuyas in here for what I talked about earlier. There's still plenty of decks running around where you need that Omni protection, at least for a turn. So I'm totally, like willing to run this Yuya, absolutely. We're not as, quite as fast as a WarGreymon X and doing, crazy security checks and things like that. So when we pass turn, we really need to stick the landing and stay around for a second turn at least minimum. So yeah, we're still running the Yuyas here, and we can play it for free off of the Metal Greymon play, so I'm totally here for it. I'm running 3 X antibodies. I know some people are only running 2, but if I'm not going to be running BlackWarGreymon, I absolutely want to have this at a 3 of, just because we need it for our BlackWarGreymon X. But also, again, my favorite play is Metal Greymon Swing, Raid, Evo into Metal Greymon X here, get my piercing off, get 3 security checks, feels really good, and I just need to see X antibody as soon as possible to do that whole shenanigans. Next we got Hades Force in here, still just our removal option of choice. I'm always going to run 2 removal options in pretty much every deck I run. Unless it has it built in, like WarGreymon X antibody. He has his end of attack, he gets to pop something. So that's like the only deck that I'm like, okay, I don't need a big boss monster killer. Like Hades Force here, really good. Security, delete something with the highest play cost, always really great. But also, this is our Tamer hate. We don't necessarily need to run BlackWarGreymon because we have Hades Force here. We can just play Hades Force and clear a lot of Tamers or Digimon that are in play. So this is like our board wipe and all kinds of things. It's great against D-Brigade. It's great against Crossheart. It's great against Hunters. It's great against Bloom. It's just a very nice all-around card. Granted, you have to be able to set up and stay around. So that's another big factor here. Another reason I like the Yuya is because I like to stick my body on field. That also makes it more applicable for Hades Force. And then last card is Offensive Training, just to help keep the consistency going here. We hit pretty much everything in the deck on it except for the X antibody and the Tamers, but that's okay. As long as we have, you don't want to necessarily start, shooting this off if you don't have your X antibody option, and especially if it's the main key piece that you're missing here. hold off on the offensive trainings. But if you got this already, absolutely fire this off and dig for whatever pieces you're missing. Just really, all these training cards are really great, especially for big stack decks. Going with the training cards over the memory boost cards is 100%, like, without a doubt, my go-to choice at this point for all of my deck building moving forward. Just reveal 2, I can add anything I need. It doesn't even have to be a Digimon. If I need this Hades Force, I can grab the Hades Force, and that's just absolutely insane that I can do that. I don't know how many Hades Forces I've bottom decked in like the worst times possible. So offensive training will be a nice change of pace for that. Yeah, so that's going to do it for the deck there. Pretty straightforward. Hasn't a whole lot changed. We've got a few different additions here. The few minor changes is like we're running this Greymon now, the EX1 Greymon, instead of like something else like the 1 Evo cost one. That's kind of like a big, like one of the only changes. The offensive training is pretty big. Teching in 2 of these guys. So we've got this almost an even split on our Metal Gray X's here. The 3-2 split, just depending on the matchup we're going into. And then our megas, fluctuate in this deck of, again, what am I feeling this week? I can literally just swap my megas out to any of these other Greymons, and like the deck still performs like at top tier, top notch. Like nothing feels like I need to worry about changing anything. I can just swap these megas out at random, and the deck will still perform like top tier, absolutely, like perfectly like I want it to. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please like the video. If you're still here and you haven't already, somehow, some way you listened to me talk for like 25 minutes and you're not a subscriber yet, please subscribe. Help us get to that 5K before the end of the year.